Welcome back to another one of our exit interviews for Big Brother Hometowns Season 20. We were just chatting backstage, and I think it's important to remember that this week is really tough because we're sending people home left and right. It's the end of a long game. It's like day 31 or something crazy like that. People are tired, people are fatigued, so make sure you're sending lots of love to all the contestants, all the eliminated contestants, and to Prod too, because we need it too. So I am sad, I'm devastated actually, to be joined today by the sixth juror of Big Brother Hometowns 20. It's your last chance to click away if you're not already spoiled. He is a legend. He is Jabbar times 5. Hey. You need like they do in the Super Bowl or like sports championships where they get a ring
for the rings.
You have it. Hey.
I had considered buying myself rings, but I don't want to be too showboaty, of course.
No, you should, because if you weren't already an iconic player in these games prior to the season, I feel like you certainly showed up and showed out this season as well. I remember doing your preseason podcast, and I was like, let's talk about what a Jabbar win looks like, because it's very possible. We know that Jabbar could win this game. Even no matter what threat level he's going to come in with, we know he could win. So let's talk about how it gets there. And you came so close to it. How are you feeling about less than 24 hours post eviction?
I'm still it's still surreal that I'm not in the game. I'm feeling a lot better than I did yesterday. But I'm feeling perfectly fine. I've dished out a lot of pain throughout my time in this season, so I definitely, I have to be able to take it as well.
Yeah, you definitely. You just said it. You definitely had had the girls the girls getting sent home to their mamas a little bit this season, in a good way. You had such an impact on this season, and I'm so glad that you left. And I hope you still feel this way. I know you said it last night, but you left feeling so good about the game that you played. And even though it ended in 6th place, which is nothing to write, to be upset about. Right. But that you were proud of the game you played, and the journey that you had this season, was really just so compelling. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh, same. I'm ready to get into it.
All right. Well, I'm curious, I haven't really been doing round by rounds with people. We've just been kind of hitting big moments and kind of big ideas. But early on, you were, pretty well insulated inside of your house. And then in that first round particularly, but also just within the house structure itself. I'm curious, early game, what were your big thoughts? What were things that were going through your head concerning the early game?
So the early game was actually pretty difficult for me because I wasn't around on premiere day. I was busy. And then flash forward to the next day where I'm calling 13 out of 17 other people. And I'm now am I doing too much? So I found it really difficult early game to kind of teeter the scale of not making as many calls for being way too overboard. However, I really try to kind of keep up those conversations and just keep it going. Cause if I'm going to be a target based off of, I guess, my threat level or whatever, I want to be a target because I've did too much and not enough. So I'd rather go on a scale of talking to as many people as possible and keeping up those conversations rather than to get put up because I just didn't have a connection with somebody.
Yeah. And it served you really well. You were incredibly well insulated, through the first half of this game. And I think the first big moment that you had that sticks out to me was the round that Victoria went home. And the distrust that you had in Victoria, like as much as you like, I mean, I felt like you kept going back and forth, like, should I trust her? Should I not trust her? And ultimately you decided that for your game, you just needed her out in that round. Curious if you could speak to the Victoria of it all.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I love Victoria to death. I think because I know how Victoria like sees the game, I always would have had back in my mind, like Victoria played the last game that I won. So like Victoria's never gonna let me get away with like some of the same things that I got away with. So like even if
Right.
she trusted me in that moment, there's no guarantee of like how far that trust is gonna like transcend throughout the
Right.
game. Um, and so even though like I trusted Victoria had my best interests at heart in that moment, like I was always in the back of my mind paranoid of like what is happening truly with
Yeah.
Victoria and I's relationship. And also like she was against Nikki, and I thought at least at the time that like Nikki had, at least in my mind, my best interests at heart, which I mean, flash forward when she won HOH, she kept me safe. So like, it
Right.
wasn't the worst thing in the world, but like those were kind of like initial thoughts going
Yeah,
forward.
for sure. And then we go right in after that. We go right into the Rizzo round where you're like on the wrong side of the wrong side. I mean, whatever. Like it was the fourth round of the game, but like you're on the losing side of the vote after you guys kind of stuck your neck out to save Rizzo, and we started to see this like interesting dynamic in the house where there were like two core, like it wasn't really side by side, but there were two core sides that were kind of like at least going for the same goals. You found yourself being a very vocal member of the pro Rizzo people. Was How did that impact your game? Because I think it did both good and bad things. So I'm curious your perspective.
I think it definitely did more bad than good in retrospect. I think that it was good in the sense of like it showed people that like, if I want something done, I'll go out and do it. So like if we're on the good same side, then if I want you to stay, I'll push that agenda. I think it was bad because it was bad for me more so in an internal reason, because realistically I was fighting hard for Rizzo to stay because of like a pregame relationship rather than anything that like had been done in this
Right.
game. Um and of course, like I don't think like because Rizzo and I have been friends for like 4 years, like it wasn't a big deal in my mind to go out and save him, but it seems like it had rubbed a few people in the house the wrong way, which is completely fair and valid. I get it. However, in the midst of that, I think that the Rizzo round kind of showed me to like not necessarily go fully to bat for pregame relationships when in reality, like they're not going to do the same for me. So I
Right.
think that like the Rizzo round definitely was the wake up call that I needed.
Yeah. Well, and I think what was so good about that was you did have this really great ability to recover with Liv specifically, like post that. And my favorite thing that you did all season was just this like constant, like, well, if I win HOH, Liv is safe. Like it just at every point in time where you likely should have nominated her, and then you're just like, well, if I win, Liv is safe and everybody else better watch out. Like you had this really great ability to look past the move in front of you and see the chessboard, and I really appreciated that coming from you as a player, and I loved watching that about you. You play.
Thank you. And it's actually ironic that you bring that up because, like, so the reason why, granted, I know I should have put Liv up if, like, this is like based off of competitions in
Sure.
game, but like, I'm not confident in my competition abilities. So, like, I need to establish some type of like bond with somebody who can. And to me, like, if you are like keeping Liv because you think that I'm gonna do you guys' dirty work and go after her,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm not doing that. No, 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 no. I have
Yeah.
bigger fish to fry. I see the writing on the wall, as Lamont will say, which is kind of ironic because if Liv comes behind me, I'm going to be so sad because I feel like she kind of fell into the trap that we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about here.
But I mean, the like tentative truce that you and Liv had, like it really dominates a lot of your story through
Mhm.
through the jury portion of the
Yeah,
phase of the game where you keep her safe, she's keeping you safe, and then ultimately
right,
to the point in time, and I don't want to jump too far ahead too quick, but
right.
when she does ultimately say, no, Jabbar, I have to put you on the block, and you were like, wait a minute. Like
I thought it was a joke. I was like, no, this is a sick joke. Like she playing in my face.
no, you were gagged a little bit. Like
I was gagged. The minute that she said it was me and Megan, I was like, oh, so I'm your target. I got
mhm.
it. But,
Let's backpedal some because I
okay.
like I said, I don't want to get too far ahead, but like
Okay.
um you had this kind of relationship with Liv, but you also had it with Nikki. I remember like going into that split house twist, you guys were like, oh, Nikki set us up. And then you guys worked together through basically the first half of the jury phase pretty exclusively. So I'm curious, like, if you have anything you want to say about that, or like maybe just like
Yeah.
how would you teach somebody who doesn't have that ability to look past the like, you
Mhm.
know, the you did this, so I'm gonna do that kind of vibe like in a game, because I think a lot of people could benefit from like understanding that skill.
I think a big portion of it is learning from your mistakes, right? In season 14, I would have never, excuse me, in 2021, season 14, I would have
Mm-hmm.
never behaved that way. I just would have lied, covered it up, and tried to get you out. But I think that like trying to be more, to play more fluid, be more honest about my intentions, at least for the first few rounds, allowed me to be able to allow, first of all, people to feel good about me. Like
Yeah.
I told Liv that like I'm voting you out because of this reason or whatever the case may be. So like she didn't, at least to my knowledge, she didn't harbor ill feelings towards me compared to
Mm-hmm.
like other people. Nikki, I told her I was voting her out the first round. Like she also did not harbor ill feelings. So like, I understand Big Brother can be a game based off of lies, but like I do understand why people are like, just be
Mm-hmm.
honest. Because like the honesty and the favor that I had kind of garnered in the first few rounds carried those relationships. And even though I was irritated by how Nikki set up the team, like I was like, okay, this is my second chance. I have to like be willing to like not be as stubborn and hear people out a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of the split houses, I
Mhm.
mean, what a big move
Oh my God.
to send home Caro, who, for the record, was, and I don't think this is spoiling anything, so if production wants to yell at me for it later, they can, but like one of the most insulated people in the game at that point in time. And I think
Mhm.
you knew it, and I think you saw it.
Mhm.
Um, Talk us through that day, because you played a very important role in how ultimately Lamont is safe. And I was talking to Lamont about it, and when I talked to him, I mentioned, how we gave credit to him for his part, and we gave credit to Luis. And honestly, I regret not saying in that moment, and Jabbar, the
Mhm.
part that you played in that. And I'm curious your perspective on that day.
Um, so instantly when Liv put myself in Lamont up, I don't know. I had a very gut feeling. Like Trey and Carol were telling me I'm safe, and like I do believe them, but like I'm believing them because of Bathroom D. But even more than that, I have a good pregame relationship with them. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really taking into account what has happened in the game and how they feel
Right.
about me. So like this is coming off the edge of like lying about the train of thought and so on and so forth. So when I win the veto, in my mind, this team has been set up for myself or Lamont to go home. And now the votes are there for Lamont to go home. So I don't really speak out. Like I kind of put out a filler out there to Louise because I know what Trey's gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And Trey's like, I just have to vote out Carol. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I talked to Lamont, and he just gives me like I talked to him twice. The first time, like he's giving me this heartfelt pitch, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna go home, so like it is what it is. Like I do want to save him, even though I love Carol. Like I do think it's in my best interest to save him. And then he sends me a voicemail towards the end of the round, and he's like, look, if you truly want me to stay, have an honest conversation with Louise about your feelings. And so I talked to Louise again, and then Louise asked me, like, look, I'm okay voting either way, but what do you want to do? And in that moment, I just blurt out, I want Lamont to stay. And
Mhm.
she's like, oh, you want Lamont to stay? Okay, because I also had an epiphany that that might be the right decision for us. Um, so I mean, I do think like I clearly Lamont and Louise had talked about it and so on and so forth, but I think that like Louise was kind of contingent upon which way I wanted to go,
Yeah.
very similar to how I was doing with her. Um, and I do think, ironically enough, this is kind of like the round that really sours a few people on me and kind of like creates the impasse that is the jury phase of the
Yeah,
game.
I mean, it was certainly a big decision, right? And I think that obviously there were people that wished either that you had not done it or they wished that you had told them that you were going to do it or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
But really, this is the splintering, the final, I call it the final splintering of Black Coffee because you guys basically never were really on the same page
Mhm.
about like where you were at in the game and you mentioned that really early on when the alliance was created that like I like you're like I'm here, I'm not sure how long this is going to last basically because we all have different opinions and different perspectives on the game. So give us your take on the Black Coffee of it all because I mean it was a really fun alliance. I loved your calls, but
Mhm.
functional I don't think so.
Mhm. So yeah, I mean, realistically, I think that part of my resentment towards Trey actually comes because of Black Coffee. Because Trey and I, we've known each other for the past 8 years of each other's
Mhm.
lives, and like we've had deep and personal conversation. We're good friends, right?
Right.
So I told him about an experience that I had. We've had multiple conversations about experiences I had where like the most org in the past where like blackness became an issue,
Mhm.
and I remember telling him like I don't mind working with like Lamont because like he's the bridge between us realistically at the
Right.
start, but like I don't want it to be like centered around us all being black because like that's kind of where there's gonna come an issue, and like you know against my better judgment, I still become a part of this. However, I know in my mind, I'm not like fully sold on it yet because I can
Mhm.
already tell that Lamont and Trey had different um, interests. And quickly, I noticed that how Trey and Lamont play the game is not necessarily how I wanted to play the game. Like I
Sure.
saw stuff in both of them that I just wasn't really vibing with from a game standpoint. So I'm like, fuck. Now I'm kind of in this alliance, and like now I'm like in a moral dilemma. Do like I be the one that kind of goes against this and like feel like how I felt in the previous game, or do I just like stick it out and hope
Right.
that like they end up having best interest in mind?
Yeah.
It was the
And
latter.
well, and it's super interesting though because like you and Trey had a pre-existing relationship from the game, but I think you worked way better with Lamont
I agree.
throughout the game just because the game you paid attention to where the game was moving and
Mhm,
who was moving in the same direction of you, which was Lamont. And
mhm,
I think it's like such a master class in like game awareness,
mhm,
right? Like it's not just about who you know; it's about what
mhm,
the game is telling you. I really respected that when I noticed that, like back,
mhm,
I think probably around the early jury phase, and
mhm,
you and Trey continue to like get on calls and say like, well, you got to do what you got to do because that's the game, and I just
mhm,
really loved that relationship that you had with Lamont, but also the one you have with Trey, because they were just so
mhm,
opposite of each other,
mhm.
right? Like, this person for a long time that you're not working with, and this person that you just made a new connection with that you are working with, and I just thought it was really interesting to see the contrast
Yeah,
between these two relationships. So,
yeah.
anyway, any other thoughts on that, or should we move on?
No, we can move on.
Okay. Well, so I mean, we're coming down the stretch here, and I'm curious your thoughts as obviously Phoenix comes from the Ashes of Live night and the and the split house rounds, and you and
Mhm,
Luis Lamont and Nikki, work closely together. through the first couple rounds of the jury, and ultimately you're the only person left from that alliance. How did you navigate that? Because I think in a lot of senses of the word, you should have been the first one from the group chopped. So how do you
So,
navigate that?
so instantly, like, so Trey had made like a little smug comment um at the start of the jury were like, good luck getting yourself out of this situation, or so on and so forth. And I knew, like, because he basically was insinuating that the entire house was
Right.
against me, Lamont, and Louise. And so when Nikki won HOH and kept us safe, I'm like, perfect. Like, I need to keep these people safe, but also I need to scapegoat them because, like, I'm not gonna survive on the block against a lot of other people. So
Right.
as fate will have it, I win the next HOH, and like even though Sarah wasn't a part of that alliance, I do believe like that Sarah would have sided with those people over us anyway. So my main goal was just to keep the three people who I could possibly survive against on the block I'm safe, and that's exactly what I did. Also, I noticed that Megs hadn't been on the block yet in such a crazy and tumultuous season. How is it that somebody with, arguably my same threat level or even higher has not been
Mm,
nominated? So I'm like, you know what? At the worst case I can get is my own placement. Let's fuck some shit up. So I knew that putting up Megs would probably be the end of like, whatever sanity I had left in the game, but I was ready to go with it. And also, like, everybody not in that group was throwing Louise under the bus, saying that I should put her up. Everybody in that group had an agenda of like, oh, maybe you should target Liv or Trey, which in retrospect I probably should have. But like, I'm like, no, 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 no. This is my HOH. Like,
yeah.
y'all are safe. Enjoy the spoils of being safe, but competing when you're on HOH, I'm going in the opposite direction. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that I did go in that direction because, like, even though I was an outcast or I was the last casualty of the alliance, like those people did me a solid. They gave me chances to win HOHs by picking up everybody else before me.
Yeah. Well, you said something that made me I was going to ask you, but I did forget.
Targeting Megs and Megan over, or putting up Megs and Megan over.
Nope, had nothing to do with that, honestly.
Sarah.
But I don't know. I don't know. It's gone. I don't know. It's gone. Ultimately, your fate comes to an end at the final 6.
Mm-hmm.
You get on you jump on the main call.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's already there. Were you aware? Did you have a feeling that was what was happening, or like what they ultimately told you, or were you shocked to hear what you heard?
I wasn't really so shocked. Yes and no. I wasn't shocked from the fact of them working together because, like I said, the other 4 of us kind of outcasts felt like it was the world against us anyway. I was very shocked that some of them chose to like go to the 5 with that 5 because normally, unless you're the brigade or the whatever the hell, like it's more of a survivor-esque thing to like go with your like alliance. I think like you want to take like 1 or 2 stragglers who you feel good with that can like do your dirty work for you. But I guess I was too big of a threat, which begs the question, like, why get rid of Nikki over me? Why get rid of Louis? I don't know. But I definitely felt something was up at the live night when Trey nominated myself and Lamont. I think that's kind of where the pieces really started to fall into play. So I wasn't really surprised by that. But yeah, like, I don't know. I don't think me going was the best for Liv, to be honest, especially if she comes behind me. But, I love to be proven wrong. So if she gets there, she's probably going to get my vote.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where I want to kind of go. I mean, as we approach the end game, obviously we're a couple days away. Mm-hmm. What are you hoping you'll see? Who are you rooting for? How does someone get your vote in the end? Like, what are your thoughts?
So I want to go into this as unbiased as I possibly can, But damn, if Liv or Megs makes it to the end, they're gonna make it really. The other three are really gonna have to say some off the wall shit for me to vote for them. Just because, like, Liv to go from like a 5-5, like she's supposed to be home, like she's supposed to be in the jury chat. So
Yeah.
for her to be insulated enough to like fucking survive and get to the end, I feel like I would have had to play the game that Liv did play in order to get there, and you know, I would have to vote for that. And Megs, for you to make it to the final four, only being nominated once out of a crazy ass season like this, never being a final nominee, like these people are like willingly. That's what these people are just like willingly like okay with her getting as far as she's gotten. However, this is why I'm gonna be unbiased, because if Liv and Megs get fifth and fourth, you know what? I'm gonna give Trey, Megan, and Michael their flowers, because that is textbook gameplay. That me, Liv, Megs, like this is what should happen for them, and like I can't really fault them on any bad decision or like what the decision is bad yet, but like I can't fault them on any decision that they've made, because like you know they knocked us out like dominoes.
Right.
And quite frankly, I think Megan has had one of the best social games of the cast. I think that Trey's reads on the game have been solid in terms of who voted him out, when to pivot and get the fuck away from Black Coffee. And just like, I think that he has just a strategic mind for Big Brother. And Michael, I think a lot of people are down on Michael. I'm not as low on Michael. He's won more HOHs than pretty much everybody in the jury who has him right now. And like, even though like he hasn't shown strategic intent, like his personality alone, like has gotten him into the alliance and has carried him really well. So
yeah, who knows? I mean, it'll be. I'm super fascinated to see how it plays out. Like, it's been such a fun season, and like it's been so interesting to watch this group of people come together and play this game. I am so thankful that you were a part of it. I'm so glad that you said yes to the invitation. And I'm so glad you spent the last 31 days, 30 days, however it was. Like, I'm glad you spent it with us. And I hope you know how much love we have for you as a team, but also how much love I have for you. Yeah, I'm just so thankful we got to watch you play again. It's such a joy and such a treat to watch you just continue to excel in these environments. So
yeah, the pleasure has been all mine. I'm very grateful that you all gave me the opportunity to return. I know, like after 14, I was like, look, don't call me back. I don't want it.
We didn't think it would happen. We didn't think it would.
Yeah, it definitely took 2 years worth of like growing, and like I still don't feel like I fully understand like the strategy of Big Brother. I don't think that it's like a format that I'll ever be able to win. But I've learned so much from 14 to 20, and I'm very appreciative of BBH for giving me the opportunity to grow as a player.
And you certainly did. I mean, you made it further in a much more challenging cast. You had such big moments. You played the game hard, and that's all we can really ask. So much appreciated to you, my friend. And we're gonna see you on finale night, where you're gonna roast the girls. You are an amazing juror. I've watched you on several juries. You are an amazing juror. So I know you're going to be there asking the good questions, and I'm excited to see it. So thank you again. Thank you for everybody for watching. We're gonna get on out of here, but this has been Jabbar's exit interview and Legend Icon Star. That's all I have to say. So bye everyone.